Some stories are stranger than fiction, and some places seem cursed by something beyond our understanding. The story of Elisa Lam is one of the most terrifying tales that has stirred fear and mystery around the world, becoming fertile ground for many legends and theories. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student of Chinese descent who mysteriously disappeared while staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles in 2013, a hotel known for its dark history and notorious reputation. This is the story of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was a young Canadian woman, full of life and ambition. She came to Los Angeles in January 2013, excited to explore California. But Elisa had her own struggles, battling depression and bipolar disorder. She was looking for a getaway, a chance to escape. But fate led her to the Cecil Hotel. This hotel wasn't your average place. With its dark history of violence, tragedy, and death, it almost seemed like it wanted to keep its guests forever. On January 31st, Elisa was last seen in the Cecil Hotel. Days passed, and her family became desperate. The police began searching, but there was no trace of her, until they discovered one thing that would haunt them forever: elevator footage from her final moments. In the footage, Elisa behaves strangely. She steps in and out of the elevator as if someone or something was following her. Her movements were erratic, pressing random buttons, looking around anxiously, even as the elevator doors stayed open, waiting, refusing to close. And then she was gone. For 2 weeks, the mystery only deepened, until guests began complaining of foul-tasting, discolored water in their rooms. Maintenance climbed to the hotel rooftop, where 4 large water tanks sat, feeding the hotel's plumbing. And there, in one of the tanks, they found her. The body of Elisa Lam, floating lifelessly, alone. No one knows how she got up there. No one understands how she slipped inside the tank and the lid somehow closed. In the wake of her death, theories spread like wildfire. Some blamed her mental state, but others say there was something else lurking in the Cecil, something beyond this world. Did something in that hotel call to her? Or was she a victim of something darker, something lurking beyond the edge of sanity? The questions remain unanswered, and maybe they always will. But if there's one thing we know, it's that the Cecil Hotel and Elisa Lam's final moments will forever haunt us all. The tragic story of Ernesto Miranda, a life shaped by crime and a historic legal battle. Ernesto Arturo Miranda is a name forever etched in American history. Born on March 9, 1941, in Mesa, Arizona, he would lead a troubled life that became a pivotal case in the U.S. legal system. His life was one of hardship, violence, and legal controversy, all leading to the landmark Supreme Court decision that established the now famous Miranda rights. But Ernesto Miranda's life and death were as turbulent as the case that immortalized his name. Troubled beginnings. Ernesto Miranda had a rough start. Coming from a difficult family background, he had frequent run-ins with the law from an early age. His mother passed away when he was just 6 years old, and he was raised by his father, who struggled to manage Ernesto's rebellious and often criminal behavior. By the time Miranda was a teenager, he was involved in multiple petty crimes, which led to several arrests and a short stint in a reform school. Despite the punishments, Miranda continued to find himself on the wrong side of the law, developing a troubled reputation. The crime that changed everything. In 1963, a young woman reported being abducted, sexually assaulted, and robbed near Phoenix, Arizona. The Phoenix Police Department launched an investigation, eventually suspecting Ernesto Miranda, who had a criminal record and was known in the area. After a brief chase, police arrested Miranda and brought him in for questioning. During the intense interrogation, police officers questioned him without an attorney present. Miranda, under pressure, eventually confessed to the crime. His confession was typed out and signed, and it appeared to be the end of the case. However, one critical detail would soon change the course of history. Miranda was never informed of his right to remain silent or his right to legal representation during the interrogation. The trial and the birth of Miranda rights. At Miranda's trial, his confession was used as the key evidence against him. He was convicted and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. However, his defense attorney argued that Miranda's confession should not have been admissible, as he had not been informed of his constitutional rights to avoid self-incrimination and have an attorney present during questioning. The case made its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, where, in 1966, the justices ruled in a historic 5-4 decision that the confession was inadmissible. The court established what would come to be known as Miranda rights, which require police officers to inform suspects of their right to remain silent and the right to an attorney before any questioning begins. This landmark ruling reshaped the American justice system, ensuring that everyone accused of a crime is aware of their constitutional protections. Life after the ruling. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling, Ernesto Miranda was retried without his confession being admitted as evidence. Witnesses and other evidence ultimately led to his conviction once again, and he was sentenced to serve time in prison. After several years, Miranda was released on parole. However, his newfound notoriety didn't lead to a peaceful life. He struggled with maintaining a stable lifestyle and found himself frequently in trouble with the law. During his years of freedom, Miranda profited from his own infamous reputation. He sold autographed Miranda rights cards and reportedly signed these cards for small sums of money, a dark reminder of the rights he had inadvertently established for others. A violent end. On January 31, 1976, Ernesto Miranda's life came to a tragic and violent end. He was involved in a bar fight in Phoenix, which escalated quickly. During the brawl, he was stabbed to death. His killer fled the scene, and in a twist of irony, the suspect was read their Miranda rights upon arrest. Ernesto Miranda's life ended in violence, the very environment he had known all his life. But the legacy of his case lived on. Legacy of Ernesto Miranda. The Miranda rights have become a cornerstone of American policing and criminal justice. From television shows to real-life police work, "You have the right to remain silent" is a phrase deeply ingrained in popular culture and legal practices. Ernesto Miranda's story is a tragic reminder of how one man's troubled life led to greater protections for countless others. Though his life ended violently, the rights established through his case continue to protect people across the nation, ensuring that everyone has the right to understand and invoke their constitutional protections. Hinterkaifeck Murders Story. In March of 1922, an isolated farm in Bavaria, Germany, became the scene of one of history's most chilling unsolved murders. This was the Hinterkaifeck farm. The farm was home to Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and her two children, Cecilia and Joseph. They were quiet, reclusive farmers living far from the nearest village. Just days before the murders, Andreas Gruber told neighbors he had heard footsteps in the attic, despite nobody else being in the house. He also saw footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the farmhouse, yet curiously, there were no tracks leading back to the woods. On the night of March 31, 1922, the Gruber family and their new maid Maria were brutally murdered, one by one, in a gruesome manner. The killer lured each family member to the barn and attacked them with a pickaxe, then went into the house to kill the others. For days after the murders, neighbors noticed the family hadn't been seen, and the Grubers didn't attend their usual church services. Worried, a few neighbors went to the farm and made a gruesome discovery: the bodies of the entire family and their maid. The killer had seemingly stayed at the farm after the murders, eating their food and even taking care of the animals. An investigation revealed puzzling details. Nothing was stolen, and it seemed the killer knew the farm well. Various theories have been suggested, from revenge by a neighbor to an ex-lover's vendetta, yet no one was ever convicted. The chilling mystery of Hinterkaifeck has haunted historians and true crime fans for over a century. The brutal murders, eerie warnings, and the disturbing presence of the killer make it one of history's most terrifying unsolved cases.